Lately I've been thinking about this life and how it brought me here. Staring at this man in the mirror, I see him often here.
Welcome to the Message Hope Podcast, where the hope stands for hearing other people's experience. My name is Adam.
My name is Mike, and today in the studio we have a member of our sponsorship family. He's my sponsee brother. He's got 5 years clean, and he came on here to share his experience, strength, and hope with us. Ruben, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me here, you guys.
How you
When
doing?
did you get your 5 years?
In 2019.
No.
So
when did you get 5 years?
When did I get 5 years?
Yeah.
So it was August 9th.
August 9th.
Yeah, August
okay.
9th, yeah. So my clean date is August 9th, 2019. And then that's when the miracle started happening.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
So I started sponsoring you in August.
You started sponsoring, I believe, I want to say October.
October.
Yeah, it was
okay.
October. I remember because there was a party at the house, right, which led to me being tired that took me to the meeting where I met you at.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think I remember the day. I think it was October 13th.
Oh, yeah. All right, Ruben. So tell us what it was like for you growing up, man. Like, where did you grow up? Did you have siblings? Was there a lot of drugs in the household? Was there abuse in the household? Things like that.
All right. Yeah. So I originated out of Azusa, California. You know, the Canyon City, right? I do have siblings. I have an older brother and two sisters, which later on in our life we ended up getting a younger sibling from a different parent, right? But that was after we were pretty much all older in our teenage years and whatnot. The household, I grew up in a very loving household. You know, I was raised by my grandparents. Mom and dad were actively using. So, you know, one of the blessings that happened out of all that, like, they signed us over to my grandparents, right? Mom and dad were using, and, I remember like being in motels, right? Like certain motels in my city, and like thinking like it was like the coolest thing ever, but we weren't allowed to stay there overnight, or they had to sneak us in. And so, I just remember, what I remember was like always being back and forth from like a motel down the street to being back at my grandparents, but in the household, it was a loving environment, right? Grandfather, for what I remember, he always worked as in the car area, He was a shuttle driver for Toyota. I'm pretty sure he had a different job before that, but from what I remember, he was always working for a shuttle driver or something like that. Grandmother would stay at home, and she did the best she can. She was I don't want to say a diehard religious person, but I believe she's Catholic, and I just remember her praying a lot throughout our time growing up. Like when she was in her room at a certain time, like you knew not to knock, and if so, like you'll catch her with like a rosary in her hand and her saying her Hail Marys and whatnot. And that's what I remember vividly, throughout my time growing up. And I think that's one of the things that pretty much saved me throughout my life, right? Made me have some type of connectivity with a higher power and a God.
Yeah.
Because of that, I remember, so it started off in like elementary school, where she would, before I go to bed, I was always big on her, like giving me like the cross on my head. I couldn't go to sleep until she did that. I couldn't lay down, or I always go into the room and, hey, can you do the rosary or the cross on me so I could go to sleep? And, that's what I remember more of, like my grandparents. Like my parents were always they were there, but they were periodically there, from time to time. Dad, though, like mom was there, dad was always in jail. Dad was definitely living in the lifestyle, gang member from the city, so in and out of jail. That's all I remember, That's all I remember was him being there only for a time, but not really there, and then gone and in prison. And the next, we're getting letters from him telling us like these false hopes.
Yeah. I remember those too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like the letters, like, oh, we're gonna get a house, or it's gonna be different this time, and like I didn't ever think that eventually at some time like it'll have a negative effect on me, because the same patterns would come into my life as well.
Yeah.
Man, it's just a trip reflecting on that. I remember him being incarcerated for a Christmas, right? And then we got these gifts, right? Like they, in our ages, and then I had got this football. He had somehow magically got me a football, and that was like the most like amazingest thing ever, because like my dad made it happen while he was away, So like I held on to that, eventually I lost the football because it got stuck in a wash when I was playing with it at like a family function or with some people and stuff. But, I wish I could say that he did his best, but he was very, very sick. He was stuck in his lifestyle, right? Which later on I would eventually understand because, for a time I wasn't sure what was going on. I just remembered being there with him, spending time with him, because, after a while, he moved out of Azusa and then, he came into the IE area. Yeah. Right. And that's when Ontario became a thing. And I was like, what, Upland and, Montclair. Like, I didn't know where I was at. Like, I was far, I was far from my hometown.
Yeah.
And, so I remember on weekends, there was times where like, he'll come pick us up, pick up me and my sister, me and my older sister. And, so I'm the youngest of four. I should have said that. I'm the youngest of four. And it was me and my sister, who's a year older than me, or a year or two. Like, we would go to our grandparents' house a lot, right, to go spend the weekend there with him. But he was never really there.
Yeah.
Right. He'll be there, but we had to wait until like 11 o'clock for him to wake up. Then we'll go knock on the garage, and be like, "Oh, Dad, you're awake," but he wouldn't be awake even then, So we would have to wait to see him. But when he would come in and use the restroom, that's when he knew he was awake.
Yeah.
And we'll go in there and spend time with him, whatever. But he wasn't really there. He was physically, but not, mentally.
Right.
Right. But the household I grew up in was, is very much appreciated to this day, because at the time of my my addiction, I when I was actively using, like, I didn't care about all that.
Yeah.
I just wanted a place to shower, a place to get high at, running amok. But like today, I could sit back and I appreciate what my grandparents did, and I hold a lot about the values that they showed me. Being accountable, like my grandfather, like showing up on time management for him was like a big thing.
Yeah.
It was a big thing. Like, if we had an appointment, let's just say like we had an appointment at 3 o'clock, we're getting there at like two something.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to be chilling there waiting, he was a very big part of my life, like it was my grandmother and my grandfather, like they were like the ones who did everything for us, made it happen. So my household growing up, I remember like a typical Mexican household, a bunch of different families in there. So we had, we had my grandparents had their own room, and then it was my uncle and some of his kids, and then with me, my sister, and my brother, and then my aunt. So I just remember being in like a small house with a lot of people, and that's normal to me. Like even now, like that's totally normal. Like when I go into a home, there's only everybody got their own room, and it's like it's not as packed. I'm like, oh, these people are weird. They're weird. Like, they don't get down like us, right? Yeah. But like as time went on, relatives started moving out. So I just remember sharing a room. It was me, the boys had their own room, and the girls had their own room. So my sisters shared a room. Right. And then it was me, my brother, and my two of my cousins that we should share a room. And so growing up, like my brother was always like in the streets. He's the one who got turned into the street life because of the lack of relationship that he had with the family. He was alienated. And I'm barely learning what that is. Right. So he turned to the streets. At a young age, all I remember is him hanging out with his friends, being out all night, and like he had no rules.
Yeah.
Right? Like he got to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. He didn't answer to nobody. I was like, dude, that's really cool. So like I guess this is where like I started looking up to him in a sense, right? Like I'm just a little kid, 'cause I was always like growing up, I was a crybaby. Like nobody wanted me around.
Yeah.
Every time that I went around, every time you go away, you're a crybaby, man. I was like, oh, okay. So I started like doing my own thing.
I think that's for every little brother, though.
Yeah.
Like from an older brother to a younger brother. I was the oldest, and I remember feeling that way about my little brother. Like I'm the oldest, and he's a little kid, even though we're like 18 months apart. But
it's just crazy how you say that, because now that we're able to, like, me and my brother, like we're close, right? He's in recovery as well. He just celebrated 4 years. 4 years, April 21st. That he got 4 years, right? And that we talk about this stuff, and then he told me, he's like, man, like I just knew like when I had you, like I had a little brother to run around with, you know what I mean? I could take him in the nurseries, I could take him in the streets, right? But I guess it didn't turn out that way in the beginning. Yeah. Because like I said, man, I was a fucking crybaby, so he didn't want me around. And then growing up, like once the cousins, grew up and did their own things, it was just like me and my sisters. My uncle moved out. Oh no, my uncle was there for a while. Then my aunt, and then she had her kids as well. And I got close to my sisters, right? Like, so I wasn't really allowed to leave. I had to be on when the street lights came on. I had to come inside, or like if I was out there and like I just remember like my grandma calling me in like, hey, it's time to eat. I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go eat. Tell my neighbors, oh, peace out, I'm gonna go eat. I'll be back, And then it's like, oh no, it's 7:00. You need to take a shower and get ready for school. Like, damn, like I'm being robbed of my experience right here,
Yeah.
And like I always felt like they didn't want me to have fun, like they were strict on me in a sense, But I was like, man, you won't let me go out with my friends, or I want to go over here to the other side of the neighborhood on the opposite side of the main street. They're like, no, you can't go because it's late or it's too far. But I was only in like elementary school when that happened.
Yeah.
I was like, well, my brother, like, they wouldn't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
They wouldn't want to talk about like him being able to go out and do what he wanted to do, right? And then the people that I was hanging out around, my neighbors, like same thing, like they didn't have that structured family telling them what to do. Like they got to do whatever they want. If they wanted to go out all night, they get to go out all night. And I was like, why the fuck can I do that? Like, why am I trapped?
Yeah.
And so like it kind of made me want to rebel a little bit. So like there was times where I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go hang out at so and so's house next door, then I will fucking sneak off and go do my own thing on like the opposite side of the neighborhood. But I knew I better get home when the lights came on, because if not, then I'm gonna be in trouble. Being grounded was never really a thing for me. It was just like I would get told like, you're not going outside, and then like I knew how to manipulate my way, I guess. And I'll be like, can I go outside? Can I like get on my grandmother's nerves?
Yeah.
And just keep bugging and be like, well, you hate me. You don't love me. You don't let me do anything I want. And like, I don't know if it was like a guilt trip, right? Or do something to her, but she's like, get out of here, go. Right. And so it's like, she'll like, tell me to go out there, and I'll just go back on my skateboard, like that was my thing. I used to love skating. Yeah. Right. So like, I'll be out there from when the morning time at like 7 in the morning, like 7, 8, out there, I ate breakfast or whatever, go outside and skate. I wasn't any good at the time, but I just knew that was what I wanted to do. So like, as I grew older, like let's just say like 5th grade, right? Now I have a buddy who lives like far away. So I remember being able to travel over to his house, right? Like getting a ride was never a thing. Like I was like always scared to ask, oh, can I get a ride? Because like, the notorious things, like I don't got gas. Like I wish we had gas prices then now, what I mean? Because that was like their old thing. Like we didn't got money for gas, like whatever. So I would skate with one of my buddies, and then I would skate over to his house, and it would just be hanging out. And at this time, like now I get to see like my brother. He gets to see me out and about a little bit. So every time he'll come around, like we'll talk a little bit, but not really. And like he's the one. So like part of my lifestyle is like with skating, tagging, then using drugs. Yeah. Right. Like there was always skating first, but then it came like here comes like the pot, right? The weed came first, like in 5th grade. I remember buying a 5-sack off the neighbor. Then I got caught with a little straight shooter. I didn't even know how to smoke. I just, this is cool. Like I can't wait to hit it. So I'm like, I'm on the side of the house trying to smoke this weed and not even know how to hit it. Right. Grandma caught me. I'm not gonna lie. I dropped down. I was like, well, I got it over here. So now she's mad. Now I can't go over there. Yeah. Right. And but these are like the neighbors like I grew up with. Right. Eventually, like I would join their tagging crew with them, so I became a part of them. Right. So like I said, man, like I always felt like my grandparents kept me like sheltered, so it made me want to rebel more, right? Yeah. So like the skating, going out, like that was my little bit of freedom, the taste that I got. And but before that, the relationship that I had with my sisters, like I would hang out with them. So like that's why I got into certain types of music, certain like like some stuff we call like girly music or whatever they listen to, but I guess it's R&B, you know. So like Envy Riders and all that stuff. So I would listen to that because of them. So like it actually kind of put me up on game when I got older, Yeah. And as I started getting older, here comes 6th grade, and this is where it all started to unravel for me. I go to school. And now, I got my little group of friends, right? Because I wanted to be the cool guy. I wanted to be the one people are like, yeah, that's cool. Ruben, he's a cool guy, man. I want to kick it with him, right? Yeah. And so, like, my main focus is being liked, trying to be accepted by others, trying to be a people pleaser. So, of course, like, this is where like the conflict started coming in, because he looked at me as a funny way or something like that. Like I would say something to you, right? Like I knew in my heart I couldn't back down, right? Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not like a fighter. I ain't gonna, kick everybody's ass and shit like that. But I just knew like if someone that came up to me or something like that or why, I couldn't turn it down.
Yeah.
Right. And so like that's probably where it got me more in trouble, because deep inside, like I knew that wasn't me, right? But once again, like I said, my role model was my brother, and I remember, hearing, like AJ, that's your brother. I'm like, yeah, like like, oh, that's what's up, man. He's cool. And I was, all right, yeah, that's my brother. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm living in his shadow. I lived in his shadow like my whole life growing up, right?
Yeah.
And like that made more of a reason for me to pursue the lifestyle that I have, because I knew that my brother was doing it, and if I became known, like he's gonna hear about me and he's gonna accept me, right? So I guess it's like a part of being accepted, right? That I never really took account for, is like being accepted for that, for like the mistakes that I made, because I remember as well, around that age, right? Being in middle school, like he was on probation already, because he would go out with his friends and they got into a big old fight at a bowling alley where like next thing you know, he's in camp. He's doing a little bit of time, and I'm like, dude, that's so cool, right? Thinking that like that's the way to go. That's fucking dope. I want to be like him, right? And then him being on probation, I remember going with my grandmother to take him, and I just knew every time that we went, there was a vending machine, and I was gonna get a Sprite, right? So I could sit there and get a Sprite,
Yeah.
So, like seeing all that, like it kind of intrigued me a little bit, So sixth grade, I get into my first little fights. I got a black eye. It was cool walking around with a little black eye, right? But I knew at this point, like this is it. Like I want to be a knucklehead. So, sixth grade, so when the tagging started, man, a little bit of weed, and then the fighting as well. And now seventh grade was probably like the year that the ball started rolling, because me and my little groups, I guess weird, because then it was like these people they used to call us the skaters, you know what I mean? Because we used to skate. Right, we didn't have tight pants really back then, right? But we used to skate, and like little little bicycle kids, like they would call it, like they play soccer, right? And they'd be like, oh, like the skaters, and we'll call them paisas, right? But like I didn't know that, like I was like, that's my culture too. I'm Mexican, bro, my people, but they saw me as a different type. Yeah. And so we usually get into with them, man. And I remember getting into a fight with one of them, and Halloween's coming up, so I had snuck into my grandfather's dresser, and he had this badass Smith & Wesson knife, right? And I was like, I'm going to take this shit with me just for protection, right? Yeah. And, just being a kid, thinking that's the coolest thing ever. Like I have a big ass knife on me. So me and my buddies are going out, we're riding on shit. And then I caught the guy that I fought. Yeah. Right. And then I kind of like ran up on, like, well, what's up? And he's like, oh no. I was like, nah, fuck that. And I pulled it out on him. And I was like, well, what's up then? You know what I mean? Like I guess I was just flashing it to scare him, and, well, little did I know that he was going to go to school, or went home and he told on me. Yeah. Yeah. Right? And so I still had the knife, and I went into school with it in my backpack. And so come that following Monday, they pulled me in. They're like, yeah, well, we heard about this. And I was like, nah. They're like, can we search your backpack? And I was like, I guess. And they go in my backpack, and first thing they found stickers, little slap tags. They're like, oh, you've been writing on the school. I'm like, oh shit, man. You know what I mean? So they found the slap tags, right? And here comes the knife. Right, and I was like, fuck, they found the knife. And they're like, all right, well, we got to call the cops. I was like, fuck, they got to call the cops? I was like, oh, shit, like my whole world just like, and then, but like, it made me, like, I was scared. But after all that, because all they did was put me in handcuffs, and like, we could take you to Los Padrinos. I was like, okay, you know what I mean? I was like, fuck, like, I can't believe I'm going to go to juvie. Right, but they let me go. Yeah. They kicked me out of that school. I went to another school in the area down the street from my house, and then good thing is I knew a couple people from there. Yeah. Right. So I started hanging out with them. So I'm at a new school. People don't know who I am. So all right, I'm making all these friends and stuff. All right, cool. And like I said, I just wanted to be accepted. And someone came up to me. I don't know why he wanted to fight me or what, but he's like, after school. I'm like, all right, cool, dude. Like, hell yeah. And I just remember like getting into a fight with him, but swimming. I was like, I don't know how to fight. I'm just gonna start throwing them. Yeah. And after that, I was like, yeah, like now people know, like, don't mess with me. Yeah, right. Yeah. But that's when the tagging continued to pick up a little bit, right? Like now I'm not allowed to hang out with certain friends because we're getting arrested, and like the parents thought, like I was always the bad one, right? Like when I came around certain people's homes, they're like, oh yeah, like yeah, he's the bad one, right? But little they know, like their kids, like are putting in their own work too as well. You know, so I lost a couple friendships because of that, which is, you know, totally fine. I adapted to new ones. And then as I can continue on, like here comes 8th grade. Same thing. Now here, from the skinny jeans or whatever came the Dickie shorts, black socks, pro clubs, right?
Yeah.
Spiky hair. You know what I mean? Kind of look like Adam a little bit, right? Right? And, you know, same thing. So I was always getting in fights, getting in trouble, man. You know, so at this time, this is where like the alcohol and the weed, this is like where this is where I started using it more. So at this age, like I already joined the tagging crew. I didn't have to get jumped in because of who my brother was. You know, they're the ones who started the crew in a sense, right? So I just got walked in. And I was like totally cool. And there was only a few of us youngsters in that from like a different era, right? And so some of the buddies that I was hanging out with, like I didn't know that they were using, right?
Yeah.
I just like, oh, we're always smoking weed and we're drinking, you know?
Was it the older?
Nah, those
older
are ones
heads?
my age,
Oh,
right?
okay.
They're my age, right? Like,
Oh, wow.
so like my brother, like I didn't know he was getting high. I always wondered like, why is he always like fucking tired or he's never home, right? So like that's when I found out like he was getting high. I think it was 9th or 10th grade. 10th grade. So after 9th grade, we established everything, going to school, getting kicked out, and then come up 10th, I was homeschooled, and some of my buddies, you know, we were hanging out. I'm like, where you guys going? They're like, oh, we're gonna go smoke some dope. I was like, smoke some dope? I was like, what's that? You know what I mean? They're like, oh, it's meth. I'm like, I got 10 on it. What's up? You know, you know, because I used to get lunch money and stuff. My grandma used to look out for me tough, bro. Like, you know, she would give me like $5 every day, or you know, so I would save it up. And but before that, I remember one night my brother, there was a bush by the house, and I remember him going and putting something in the bush. He's like, hey, make sure nobody touches that. And I was like, oh, all right, cool. So I went in and I got it. I was like, what the fuck? What's this? It was a meth pipe.
Yeah.
Got it and I put it back or whatever. All right. So like that's when I started to acknowledge it. I hate to backtrack, but the first time I ever seen crystal meth is when my dad was living in Ontario. I forgot what park. He was in his park. He was living in the garage, right? And I remember he wasn't there. I went back there and he had this, I don't know, like there were mints, right? He had these little race NASCAR mints. They're like NASCARs, a bunch of little mints in them, right? And all of them are closed up but one. I was like, ooh, I want a mint. So I go in there and I open it. I was like, what's this? And I was like, and the neighbor girl who lived in another complex who I was hanging out with, she came and grabbed it and closed it. And it's like, give me that. And she put it away. And I was like, the fuck? Like, dude, I just want some mints. And she's like, no, don't touch that. Okay. And like that, I didn't know what that was, but as I got older, I knew. So when I started hanging out with my buddies, we got high.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They had to like light it for me and teach me how to do the ropes, you know?
It's everybody's first story. Like nobody ever just hands it to you, or nobody ever just tries it on their own. It's always like somebody's like right there, just like,
just like that. Like, now? Do I hit it now? Okay. You know?
The hold it in?
Hold it in, yeah. Right. Like, no, it's
blow
not
it out,
Yeah, blow it out. It's not weed, bro. You're going to freeze your lungs, right? You know what I mean? That was like one of the things, like, kind of scary the whole time. Like, if I hold it in, like, I'm going to crystallize my lungs. And then after a while, you're like, I want to crystallize my lungs. You know what I mean? And so that's when I got high with them, you know? So this is 10th grade. I started getting high with them, and I loved it. The first hit, that was it. You know what I mean? It made my, like, the hairs on the back of the neck, you know, the whole story and stuff like that, but I knew that I wanted it. And the reason why is because, like, I never felt so numb like that.
Yeah.
And so there became my pursuit of that high.
Yeah.
You know,
And they don't tell you'll never get that one again either.
I got it once. I felt like I had it once, right? You know, I think the dope was good, but you never got it back after that. Like, I thought I had finally caught it, but I chased that periodically, you know, and man, like I didn't know at the time that it was gonna pull me by the ear, you know what I mean, and take me for a ride of my life, right? You know, I didn't know that it was gonna ruin relationships, you know, and you know, make me like I had some pretty decent relationships at a young age, right? Like, but I mean, come on, we're kids. Like, I'm not gonna be settled down with somebody, right?
Yeah.
But I actually, like, throughout that my beginning of my addiction, I did have this, you know, this girl I was with, right, who eventually became the mother of my first child, right? The mother of my first child, and and if it wasn't for her mom like 12-stepped me at a young age, I didn't know, but like I just knew, like, I was with her, you know, like, you know, and she had gotten pregnant. And like when we told our families we're having a baby, like my mom was like, you better be ready. My dad was like, you better be ready. You know, my grandparents like, well, you know, you better be ready as well. And then like everybody was accepting though, because it was like, I guess it was normal. Right? Like, you know, you guys.
How old were you?
I was 15 when we found out, 16 when I had him. Right, so like a teen dad, you know, that's when they all like the teen moms and shit. I was like, damn, I should be on that show. You know, I mean, I'll do good on there.
Version.
Yeah, you know what I mean, the hood version, right? Yeah, because they're all in the country and shit, right? But I just remember like going through that experience, right? And she was totally cool with it. Cause I remember, you know, telling her like, oh, well, I smoke meth. Like, I never really hid my addiction from anybody, right? I'm like an open book, right? Like, I'm just like, yeah, I smoke dope. So what? You don't like it? Get the fuck away from me, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was like the coolest. Like to me, it was like the coolest thing. Like if you ain't doing what I'm doing, we ain't kicking it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, it ruined a lot of relationships, and eventually she was cool with it until she wasn't cool with it no more. You know, because now here at first is occasional usage, right? Now it's like every day, right? It's becoming it became a problem. You know what I mean? And it affected my ability at a young age to become a young father, you know, because like I didn't know what the fuck a responsibility was. I didn't know what that shit at all. I just want to get high.
Yeah.
You know, and so at that time, man, like let's just say it could have been something good. It could have, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Right? It had to go because my addiction came first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chasing that high came first. So now like that little cooped up kid that I used to be is no longer. Now I'm like 16, 17, and like my grandparents ain't telling me shit, right? I'm running around with my friends. I got put on house arrest. Like the only time I ever had clean like abstinence is because I got put on house arrest for 2 months, right? So I became a big boy. All I could do was eat and stay in the house during the summer. And it was hot as shit, you know?
Yeah.
And so throughout that time, like I had a relationship with my first child's mom, right? But it was like on and off. Like it was bad fighting, you know. Like I said, I just wanted to get high. Until I think I turned 18. That's when I really started going out, hanging out, meeting different people, you know. And the disease really like it picked up. That was it. So I had stopped talking to her, you know. I was like, hey, I told her like she found out I was selling. I was like, yeah, I'm selling, and she's like, don't talk to me ever again. I was like, what the fuck's your problem, right? Like, you should be okay with this. But at the time, like, I didn't even know how to sell. I was just fucking selling just to pick up again, right? Like, I was just, I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to get high.
I thought that was the best way to do it.
Yeah. I learned a little bit more how to do that later on in my addiction, right? Because I was just like, oh, cool, I got a teener. And like, it's messed up, right? Because like when I first picked up to sell, I got it from my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad sold me my first teener, right? And like it's a trip because like he found out I was using because my siblings told on me, like my sisters and them, like, oh yeah, your son's getting high for crystal meth. So like he jammed me up one day. I went to go spend the weekend over here with him in San Bernardino. I forgot where we were, but I went over there and like I wanted to get high. So like I took my pipe and my lighter and my dope with me to the shower, you know, because ain't nobody gonna bug me up from the shower. I'm gonna fucking go smoke before I jump in the shower. And when I came out, he's like, we need to talk. I was like, what the fuck? What do you mean we need to talk? He's like, what's up with these baggies? I was like, which ones? Like the ones in your bag? I was like, oh, those? I was like, he's like, are you smoking dope? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, what the fuck, dude? He's like, I can't believe you. This now. I'm like, whoa. He's like, look. He's like, I got a poem. If I ever find it, you know, I'm gonna show it to you. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, it's a poem about everything like it's made out of. He's like, it's under your kitchen counter. I was like, cool, dude. Like, is that it? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I was like, whatever. And so after that, like, so I he knew I was getting high, and I had a feeling he was, you know, doing he was doing the same thing. And now I understand the certain things he was doing, right? And like in my addiction, like I started getting high, you know, relatives, cousins, uncles, you know what I mean, brother, you know, right? Like, you know, so my addiction picked up, and I remember he served me up a teener on my way to go to probation. He took me to my PO. I was like, oh, cool. My dad's being a dad. You know what I mean? I get to go with him to go check in. Like, hell yeah. Like, show him some support. Good job, man. Right. And I was like, the whole time I was like, hey, can I get it? Hey, can I get it? Hey, he's like, nah, like, wait. And I remember it was after I checked in and stuff, we stopped at the gas station. He's like, oh, you got that money? I was like, oh yeah. I was like, here, charge me $100 for a fucking teener. Yeah. I was like, this fool's living in the old school era for sure. You know what I mean? Like, rip me off. You know what I mean? But, and so like I promised my son's mom, like, I'm gonna flip this, right? Like, because it came out of my son's savings. You know what I mean? And so like that's where I think I kind of had a negative effect because I'm, you know, the false promises. And like I pressured her into giving me, I manipulated her to give me $100, right? And I never paid her back. You know, and hence like she already had trauma from this growing up because, you know, her mother, you know, is a part of the fellowship as well. I don't know if she still is, but she was at the time, right? And so that's when she's like got tired of being tired, and then she put that boundary up. So at this point, like we no longer talk, you know, like young kid would, you know, so she wouldn't let me see him anymore. And then, you know, after all this, you know, 18, 19, I got my first arrest for a CCW, carrying a concealed weapon. You know, I was hanging out with the buddies, and I was gonna sell them a gun, right? So we went to the Red Roof in San Dimas. You know what I mean? Like, that's where they were staying at, right? And it was just weird how how everything worked out. Like it was like there was a argument between one of the guys and his girls, and you know what I mean, I come out, and then like I had like it was like 3 chances to get away, right? The reason why I say 3 chances because like the first chance was like, all right, let's just go, just take me home. I was like, I got the gun, like, just take me home, I'm not gonna sell it after all, right? So we go, and then we see the guy walking and goes. So the homie pulled over. I was like, hey, well, I don't feel comfortable, I got a gun on me, you know what I mean? Like, no, we're good, just get now we're back at the room. Yeah. Now we're trying to figure out what's going on, right? And there was like I could have just took off walking from there. That was the second time, right? Third time I was like, all right, let's just leave. We're gonna take you home now. All right, cool. So now we're all in the car, and I'm in the back seat, and one of the buddies who has a license, you know, and is not really burnt out. He's driving the car, but the car we were in was a burnt out car. There was a bullet hole on the front or whatever, right? Because my buddies had got shot at before, and so as we're driving, you know, Glendora PD, you know, passing by, and they see that or whatever, and like they see us on the car, and we're leaving. It's a long hallway. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the San Dimas Red Roof, right?
I've seen it.
It's a long driveway. My bad. It's a long driveway, and it's like, why is it so long, right? And so they get behind us, and I tell the guy, I was like, don't stop, like just get to the freeway. I'm gonna run. And he pulled over. He's like, look, bro, they just want to talk to me. And I was like, you're a fucking idiot, fool. Like, my buddies had it was like a replica Glock BB gun. Yeah. In the glove box, right? And they had a bunch of mail in the car, you know. So what they did they pulled the driver out, pulled the passenger out, and then like they came to me. And when they pulled me out, I was like, fuck. And I told the girl that was there, I was like, hey, like just get a hold of my mom and give her my stuff. Like I'm going to jail. Yeah. And they pulled me out, and they're like, you got anything on you? I was like, I got a 38 on my waist. They're like, what? I was like, I got a 38 on my waist. And they gripped my hands tighter than was on top of my head. And like, we got a gun. And they lift up my shirt, and there it is, a big old chunky 38 revolver. Get it, thrown in the grass. Like I was like, the bullets are in my pocket. So I think that's what kind of saved me. Maybe it's only because of my first charge, or maybe because the gun wasn't loaded, right? But I had got my first charge ever. Like juvenile probation, cool. I finished out like nothing, right? Now here comes the adult shit. And so, you know, they take me in, like I'm fucking scared. Right? I don't know. I've never been in county before. I'm fucking scared, man. Yeah. And they take me in, and then I go to court. I thought I was gonna get released. No, like, nah, you're gonna do 16 with half of the split. That was like the first time I ever did time. So I ended up doing 3 months. I was a trustee, so off that 4 months I had to do, I got like a month knocked off, right? And so you know, I got out, and so around this time I was already seeing a different girl, right, who will eventually be my daughter's mom. And so I'm out, you know, I go see her, you know, I got like, around the time like I was messing with her, like she sent me like a Jared John letter, you know what I mean? And she broke my heart when I was in county, and like, I'm like, fucking bitch, or, you know, like, oh, you hurt me, but like, whatever, I got over it, right? And I don't know if you guys ever heard this, like when you're locked up, like you don't lose your girl, you just lose your turn, right? Like that's a fucked up way of thinking, right? But they tell you that while you're in there, like if she don't answer, don't even trip, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like it's your fault, you're in here type shit. And so like after all of that, like got out, you know, I went to go see her, you know, after I just, like my whole life's a mess now, because like the using is like a big thing. I was only clean like a week before getting out, but before that, before I went to go see her, I found out like that my nephew, one of my nephews, goes to school with my son. They're like a month apart in age, right? And so I was able to go with my sister to pick him up from the school he was at by the house. And since the boys were in the same spot, I was able to see my son, right? And I remember seeing the mom, and she's like, oh, and I told her, hey, hi, I'm out. You know, and she just looked at me like, oh, whatever. Like, can I see him? She's like, yeah, go ahead. And he ran to me. He knew who I was at the time, right? And so he ran to me. I was like, hey, can I come over and see him? She's like, yeah. So she gave me the opportunity to come and see my son. Says, all right, cool. I'll be able tomorrow. So I went over there, and I went to go play with him, visiting him, right? Like, mind you, still again, like, I'm like, I haven't used yet, but literally after I left there, I got high. And I promised him, like, hey, man, I'm going to come see you tomorrow. You know, he's only a couple years old. He was in TK, I think, or like preschool or something like that. And I never came. The next day I didn't come because as I left there, I ran into an old friend. You know what I mean? Next thing you know, I'm in a van going to, I don't know, maybe it was Ontario, Fontana or something like that, and I'm already high. Yeah. You know, so I'm so scared of my kid's mom. Like, I knew if I couldn't hit her up because I ain't gonna tell her I'm high. And that was the worst decision ever, right? I wasn't taking accountability for my actions. And that was the last time I had seen my son in a while. So now I'm in this relationship with this other girl, you know, where my daughter, you know, came from. After she broke up with the guy she was at the time, me and her got back together, and then, you know, I get busted again. I'm only out literally up 2 months. I get out in like September. I get busted again for a sales case. You know what I mean? Hanging out with the wrong people. And, you know, and this moment right here, I was just hanging out with, you know, people from my city, you know, just wanting to get high, you know what I mean? Like the neighborhood, you know, like, oh, they're cool, right? Because like all my family's from there, right? And so, you know, something happened, the car crashed, and like I knew I needed to take initiative. So after, you know, the person driving fell asleep behind the wheel and crashed, like, I don't know. I was in the back seat. I just remember when he lost control, like there was a person next to me. I threw my hand to like hold her so she wouldn't like jerk. And I see the person, the passenger, like their head kind of like, oh, it was like everything was slow mo. But once we crashed, I was like, you guys good? Pop the trunk, grab my skateboard, you know, like there's my old faithful skateboard, grabbed the bag that had like a scale in it, some like weed and all this other like bullshit nonsense, and I just take off and stash it. And so I call for a ride, get picked up. You know, we recoup or regroup, whatever. You know, at a motel, and they're like, "Where is it?" I was like, "I know where it's at. Just, you know, let me drive." And the girl's like, "We got outside. She's like, you're not driving. This is my car." I was like, "All right, cool, your car." And she had been drinking. I pick up the stash, and we're on our way back to the spot. And she swerves on me and hits a cop. Yeah, right? You know, horrible. And so they light us up. And I made a phone call like, hey, the cops are getting behind us. And they're like, why are you calling me then, stupid? Click. And so I got everything and put it underneath her seat. My pocket knife, I threw it on the side of her door because I'm not supposed to have it, right? And I'm just like, and they're already out with their guns out, you know, like, you know, put your hands up. I was like, oh, shit. So at this point, like, I knew I wasn't getting out. And I think I could have got out of it, right? But like I felt bad because like she was crying like, oh, I got a job and I can't do this. Like, you know, like she worked for like a nonprofit organization. You know, I don't want to say their name, but like, and I was like, you know what, like whatever. I was like, it's mine. You know what I mean? I took responsibility for it. And then here comes my my 2-year split, right? So it was like a year of probation and 6 months in there, and a year probation, 6 months in there, and or whatever. So. At this time I found out the other girlfriend's pregnant, you know, and I just told her like, all right, yeah, like I'll be here for you, right? And like throughout my whole addiction, like I was always like a manipulator and like you know, like different women and stuff like that, right? And I believe I picked that habit up from my father, right? I picked it up from him because, like I said, at a young age I would hang out with, like I would want to be around him. You know, I remember being in San Bernardino at the Yellows, you know what I mean? I talked to you about that, right? Yeah. Like, you know, my dad always had like a Honda with a system in it, you know what I mean? It was like the coolest thing ever. And so like he always had all these different girls and, you know, this and that. And I always said like, I'm never going to be like him. But unfortunately I turned out just like him, you know, in the end, right? And so, you know, I do my little time, whatever. I come out, you know, old girl has a baby, and you know, it's messed up because the baby was a preemie. You know what I mean? I guess, you know, she was using throughout her pregnancy. She said she didn't know she was pregnant until she got really big. You know, she hid it and stuff like that. So, what is that? CPS or whatever. Like, they want to push a case now. And they're like, well, I'm cool. I just got out. Like, I'm going to test clean. Mm-hmm. And so that's what happened. They opened a case for like 30 days, right? And so I couldn't be at home, but she was staying at my house, So, like, I just knew, like, if they came knocking, I'm jumping the fence.
Yeah.
Right? So throughout that time, and we get them to get off our backs or whatever, I start working, get a car, now me and her are using again because we're clean, right? And we made a promise to one another, like we're just gonna get high this one time, right? You know what I mean? And like, if you get bad, I'm gonna stop you, and if I get bad, you're gonna stop. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do that. Let's go get high. And so like I borrowed my grandpa's truck and went to go hang out with some friends that I knew had dope all the time, right? And that was it. I was off and running again. You know what I mean? I became the sick monster once again, and it just became bad between me and her. I started working, got a car. Now I got a car. Like, I'm doing it. I'm cool. I got a job, a little bit of money. So, the relationship got really toxic to where like it wasn't, like, almost got abusive. And like, I guess like that was like the first time I heard like some like will to be like, I'm not doing this no more. Yeah. And I had stopped messing with her. Right. I'm like, look, if you need diapers, you need anything like that, then you hit me up. Right. I got you. Right. But like, I didn't. Mm-hmm. I didn't give a fuck. I'm gonna go get high. So. My disease is really starting to pick up now once again, right? Like, now I'm really hanging out with my brother because, like, once my buddies got me introduced to it, like, I found out my brother's getting high. Now I'm getting high with my brother. He had his own apartment, and like now I'm living with him because I got kicked out of my house because of this whole big old thing, right? And so now me and him are growing a bond, right? And throughout this time, he taught me how to sell. He taught me how to weigh it and do all this stuff, whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. So like it gave me some type of like game. Like I said, all I wanted to do was like him to be like, yeah, that's my little brother, and be proud of me, right? Regardless of whatever it is. Like, I see him jumping off a cliff, I'm fucking going right with him at the time, right? Yeah. And that's how it was, man. Like, after I got out of a relationship with that girl, I started running the streets more. Now I'm selling a little more. I guess I got all these little customers. So I'm doing nickels and dimes too, right? Hooking them up for a 5-sack, all that little bullshit. And I got my own little homies that I used to see, like, because they're younger than me. Yeah. I used to have them rolling around with me or whatever. And like, I was the guy that a lot of people that I went to school with would call, because if you wanted some dope, you're gonna call Ruben. Yeah. Right. Like, that's because, like, I don't know if they knew where to get it or what, but like at some time that's how it was, right? So I'll come, drop it off, whatever. Like, hey, what's up? All right, cool. Like, it boosted my ego, knowing that they're gonna call me and be like, that's the guy right there. But I wasn't doing shit. I was small time, man. Right. And man. So throughout this time, like my disease became so bad. Like, my brother was him too. Like, I remember when I was living with him, he had got sent to prison for some shit that like was like. It was like domestic, right? And he was out on bail, a bunch of bullshit. And so by me living with him going, I had to find somewhere to go. My mom took me back in. Like, so I guess my mom was always there, but she was in active addiction as well. So she made it happen. She took me with me to my great grandma's, and I was staying with her for a while, and then like when my brother was locked up, I felt alone, right? Like, I felt abandoned. Yeah. And like because once again, my parents ain't around, right? So that was like the first abandonment issue, right? Like, mom and dad, like, everybody has their mom. Like, some kids I go to school with, they got mom and dad, right? So my parents aren't around. Mom finally steps up, takes me in there with her, right? She's helping me, right? Getting me to school and whatnot, whatever. But like, the person I looked up to was gone, right? Yeah. They took him away from me. So I felt alone. He gets out. He's not the same person no more. That's not the brother I used to laugh with, right? That I shared moments with. Like, this is like a cold person. Yeah. So by all that happening, like, it just like it pushed me away. Now we're running around a little bit together, and shit. I remember hanging out with him. Like, we had got into something, right? We came up on some toys, right? You guys know what toys are, right? And I was like, all right, cool, right? I was just a driver, right? Yeah. But throughout that thing, like it made me see like there's another world out there, like with crime, right? Like I could be the guy. I'm the yes man. Like I got a car. Like you call me, I'm gonna be there, right? And so all of that happening, like now, like he's introduced me to people. Oh, it's my little brother. It's my little brother. Like, yeah, because I had a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know he was using me at the time. Like to me, it felt like it, but at some point, like I had all these people hitting me up and wanting me to pick them up and go do this. So like, I didn't know how to say no. I didn't have any boundaries at this time.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, I wasn't picking up for the phone for the daughter's mom no more. Like I just stopped fucking caring about that. You know, and now I'm running around with my brother, his friends, and like I'm cashing checks in my name, or like they're like, open a bank account. I'm like, all right, got you. You know what I mean? And you know, doing all that crazy tweaker shit I used to do. You know what I mean? Like, and I remember one time that I went to this check cashing place by my house, and I took a check there, and like it was crazy. It was my brother's check that was under his name. It was Fandango to say mine, and they run it. Like, no, they kept my ID, and they kept my ID stuck in there. So when you went in there, you saw my ID.
Yeah.
All right. And so I just started getting deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole. You know, like I said, I didn't know that my disease was going to take me down this path, right? Like my whole family knew I was using, right? Like I kept arguing with them. Like I just pop up whenever I needed a shower, right? And like I didn't care. No respect for them. No respect for any of that. And I just knew, like, now, like, I met enough people out there, like, oh, you got a spot, I'll go spend a night over there, right? I had traded one of the toys that we had got, which was my brother's. I traded with somebody, right, and got him something else, right? And like, because I thought he was gonna do some time. I was like, he's gonna do some time. He ain't get a trip. Like, it's here. He shouldn't have left the shit in my car, right? Yeah. But he gets out a week later for some shit. And I was like, fuck. So he's like, hey, come pick me up. Bring a bowl. I'm like, all right, cool. I pick him up, and I was like, all scared, because like this, like to me, like this guy's vicious. And I looked at him. He's like, what's wrong? We call each other fatty. He's like, what's wrong, fatty? I'm like, I traded one of your things. And he's like, what? Fuck. What'd you get? I'm like, oh, I got this. He's like, all right, show me later. And he's like, oh, that's cool. Well, I didn't know like that. Me doing that would get him in trouble with the law eventually later on, right? And so, man, like hopefully my story ain't going all over the place, man. It's just like. It just took me everywhere, and I wish I could share a lot more, but it's just like, from, starting off to where I was at now, like I got deeper into like my loneliness, right? I started to become more, I didn't feel like I was a part of anything anymore, right? I was just trying to like force myself into this lifestyle, because like I had a heart, I guess you could say, what, you want me to front you? All right, you're cool, I'll front you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't pay me? Oh, don't trip, it's just $10, or I don't even trip, I'll figure it out, right? Putting myself in these predicaments and stuff like that, right? And then, my brother had, we're out running around with each other, and, like, I always knew he had my back. I always knew like he'll get me out of situations and stuff like that. And unfortunately, he had gotten arrested, and when he got arrested, he got caught with that thing, right? And so he was looking at some time. Couldn't find out, he was looking at Fed time now. Yeah, the feds picked it up and they took him in, and like this is where like I got more lonely, right? Yeah. Because the person that I was running around with, like he's gone. Like I lost my brother. You know what I mean? I just remember being at my lowest of low, running around and being out in the streets. Like I don't have my oldest kid in my life no more, right? Like I messed that up. Like I don't want to be with my daughter's mom, fuck that. Like my family probably thinks I'm a disappointment, yeah. They don't want, like they don't want me around, but they don't, then again, like they always call when something happens, like, are you okay? We heard sirens. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like my mom, like when my mom came back into the picture, that was her hitting me up like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm good. Stop bugging me, man. Fuck, I'm getting high, like or whatever, And so throughout all of this, like I got deeper and deeper, and like I went from smoking it until my first experience of using IVs. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because I found out my brother had did it IV used once, right? And I was like, well, I want to try it then, you know. And I tried it. I liked it a little bit, And then like, but that put me in the most darkest spot ever, right? It was just straight meth. And I wasn't doing black or anything like that. It was just meth, right? And at this time, this is where I came into contact with my youngest son's mom that I'm with today, right? Yeah. Like my heart, right? Like she's the one I like. It's been through a lot with me today. You know what I mean? Like so my brother's gone. I'm running the streets. I'm feeling at my lowest of low. I talked to her and like I just wanted to be around her because to me she was clean, right? She wasn't one of the girls that were out there getting high, staying out all night. You know what I mean? She just did a little partying, drinking and stuff like that. So I started hanging out with her and I just knew that she lived in Long Beach and I went out there and that was my safe spot for however long I was out there with. And I remember writing my brother letters like, you fucking left me, man. Like I'm so alone in a dark place. And I remember being at my lowest low, just like coming down probably, because the depression hits harder. And I had put, one of the guns in my mouth, right? And I was just like, what if I just pull the trigger, right? Like, fuck it. I took it out, because it wasn't really a thing. It was just like a nasty thought. And like, I don't ever want to feel like that again, because I felt alone. Eventually, he had gotten out, but like, it was like a weird game of tag, right? Because when he was out, like I was probably in there doing my little time, right? And throughout all of this, with my youngest son's mom, right? Her name's Destiny, right? And with Destiny, like we're just two because we're together in like high school and stuff, right? 2 high school sweethearts just running around, and like that lifestyle, she didn't know anything about, and I forced that onto her, right? Like I took her around the dope spots. I had her with me, like thinking it was cool, like, oh, you're gonna go with me, go drop off a sack, you know what I mean? Weighing out, I had a half ounce. I'm here weighing out like an 8-ball or something like that, and having her out there with me all night, and like she was cool with it because she just wanted to be around me. Yeah. So like throughout this time, like I'm just going deeper and deeper, right? And like I knew I wanted to be with this person right here, but I knew my disease wouldn't let me. I was trying to place 2 lifestyles together, my street life and then like being like this one person with her, right? And like in my story, like cheating was always a thing, right? And like it was sickening because like I was okay with it. Once again, like I got that, I felt that I got that from my father because my family tells me all the time, like, you're just like your dad. I'm just like, how? I mean, like how? And then it wasn't until later on I started seeing it, right? Because then I started hanging out with my dad again. So my brother gets out. He did 3 years in the feds. Just about came home halfway house and like once again, like who the fuck is this person? You know what I mean? But he would always make it a thing, like we would talk, you know what I mean? Like we have a bond that is great. Like then and like even today it's even better since he's in recovery, right? And so throughout this time, like putting this girl through hell. Now she's pregnant, now we're having a kid. She moves back to Azusa, and now I'm like, trying to make it work. And throughout this time, like I'm like, well, I had a job at the gas station, but I messed it up because I wanted to get high. So someone introduced me to transporting illegal aliens. It's a major part of my story because like the feds saved me. Because some guy that I used to hang out with, right? Hey, you want to drive? You'll get $600. Like $600 to drive? That's a come up. You know what I mean? Yeah. When I could have been making more. Fucking dirtbag.
He was keeping the rest, right?
Yeah, no, he definitely was, man. Yeah. Make it like he seemed like all your ass is doing is sitting around. So I was doing it for a while, and I remember this one night, like when everything happened, right? I had just gotten off my paper for the state for the sales stuff that I had got, right? And I had to go do a run the next day. But I remembered like needing money. I was broke and someone hit me up for a teener. Then someone hit me up for an 8-ball. The next somebody wants a half ounce. So I somehow was able to finagle my way. But before that, my son's mom was like, hey, I'm hungry. Like I need to eat. And mind you, she's pregnant. Yeah. She's about to pop. I'm like, let me take care of this real quick. So I had her waiting for me all night. Poor thing fell asleep hungry, you know what I mean? By the time I got done with everything, because I didn't care. Like, I wanted to get high. I wanted to scratch a couple scratchers. And I was like it dawned on me, but I didn't care. So, that next morning, I haven't slept yet. I felt dried out. You're staying up for a little while. You feel all dry and shit. So, like, I showered real quick, and then I went to a spot, got high. And I had picked up a friend. She used to go with me at times, right? And we went on this little adventure, right? And something in my heart told me, like, this is a bad idea. You shouldn't go. These people are rushing you for like, they're like, you need to go on time. This now. I was like, man, fuck, I didn't listen to my gut at the time. We go, we pick up the person. It's like 11. It's like 11 now. We're on our way back. I don't know if you guys ever been to like a Brawley,
Yeah.
The 86.
Yeah, we've been through it. Yeah.
All right. So like there's this agricultural stop right there that
Yeah.
you got to come back through.
Yeah.
And so that's what I came back through. Right. We went, now we're in the line, and like I just remember being like kind of like strung out, like, you know, I looked smoked out. And them like being like, can we search the back? And I was like, huh? I looked at them all like, what? And I was like, what'd you say? He's like, can we search the vehicle? I'm like, yeah. And at that moment I knew my life was over. You know what I mean? Like pointed the gun at me, like, get out of the car. I'm just like, what the fuck did I do? You know what I mean? I don't know how he got back there. You know?
I was slunk into my trunk or what?
Yeah, fuck. I don't know how he got back there, right? We couldn't find out. Like they knew that the girl already had priors for that, right? So I just remember going through the whole process scared. You know, I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do, man? Like, you know, my kid's like about to be born. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where the fuck I'm at. Like, I'm still learning like the criminal system a little bit. Like, so I was there. They let her go, right? Surprisingly, right? They let her go, and they kept me, even though she had priors. Like, okay, make that make sense, man.
Yeah.
Right. And so they took me. I ended up in Brawley, down to San Luis, Arizona. And then from there, I was there for like a couple of days, but I was like coming down, so I slept. And then they transferred me to San Diego. You know, and throughout that time, man, I was just trying to figure out what's gonna happen, what's the next step. Like, damn, I'm gonna go away for a while, right? And you know, I was there for, you know, the time went to my court process, and then I got out, right? So now I'm on federal probation, right? And I felt pretty cool. Like, yeah, I'm on federal probation. Like, my brother's on federal probation, you know, once again, like my idol.
Right.
So, you know, I get out, see my kid be born. I'm high. You know, I already got high. I'm like a week out, get fucking loaded. And this is where the journey starts to come to an end, right? Because the high, the lifestyle, it's not working for me no more, you know? You know, the relationship with me and my kid's mom it's not good anymore, right? Like, we're barely holding on. You know, I'm doing my shady ass shit, and she's dealing with me, right? I don't know why. And so, you know, I'm testing dirty for my probation, and then finally they switch POs on me, and they're like, oh, and this guy's like, I advise you to go to rehab. And I was like, the fuck? Rehab? Fuck is that? You know, and so I got into the Salvation Army in San Bernardino, you know, but they wanted me to get clean first, you know, and so I got clean, and then next thing you know, like, I went in there. I only lasted a day. I didn't even last a day. I spent the night there, right? And then the next morning, like, something hit me. I guess maybe I was like still coming down, and I was like, I could do this. I started crying. I was like, I don't want to be here, right? And like the crazy thing is, like, the events that happened after all this, right? So I leave there, and my PO calls me. He's like, you better find a rehab before I find you. And I took that as like a threat. I was like, oh, fuck, no, I got to run. He's going to get me.
Yeah.
So I asked some stranger, like, hey, man, can you give me a ride? Because I'm San Bernardino. I'm not too familiar with it. I was like, can you just give me a ride to Waterman and Highland?
Yeah.
And he's like, sure, cool, just wait for me. And I got tired of waiting, so I started walking, and he pulled up on me and found me. And I jumped in the truck with him. He's like, you're just going to go with me real quick to my friends. And it was like a weird, like, this guy's weird, you know?
Yeah.
But he got me to where I had to go. And I was like, yeah, my dad is this right here on Leroy, man. And he's like, what? He's like, I live right here. I was like, yeah. So he happened to live in the next apartments next to my dad. Like, talk about a trip.
Yeah.
You know? And like, so my dad did 4 years for some shit. So he had gotten out, right? And like, now, like, he's staying, and he's been out. And this is where I feel my relationship with my father had picked up, right? Because we started hanging out more. Yes, he got back into his active using, but I was able to enjoy the time that he had left on this earth, right? And I lost my father a few months into my prison term, right? I'll get into that right now. So we're getting high together. You know, I think I'm on the run, right? Because my sick thinking. So the first thing I do when I see him, I was like, dude, I need a bowl. I want to get high. Started getting high, right? I stopped checking in. And then in my mentality, I'm on the run, right? So I can't be at home. And I started hanging out with my pops so much. Like, he had cancer, man. You know, I don't know what kind, but I knew it was really bad. You know, he had it before he got busted, and he still had it. So we used to go with him to his appointments, right? Me and my sisters. And I remember just taking him with me to little spots, and, you know, us like hanging out. And I remember one night, right? We had just left. It was like 3 a.m. We left. We got picked up. We went out there to San Bernardino, right? And I knocked out, and I remember having all these phone calls, like all these missed phone calls. It was my daughter's mom, who I haven't talked to in a while. It was my son's mom. It was my mom. You know what I mean? They're like, "Where are you at?" The marshals came looking for you, and I was like, "Fuck, they're trying to get me, man. This fools don't play." You know what I mean? So I was shitting it. I was like, "Damn, like, cool, I'm hiding out." Well, I guess they were looking for me. You know what I mean? I guess that's what the U.S. Marshals do. Like they're more like on their shit than state, I feel like, you know? So whatever. I'm hiding out in San Bernardino now. I'm at my dad's, you know, and I was there for like not even a week. And then I just remember him spending as much time with me as he could. And he stood there with my other grandparents, his mom and, you know, her boyfriend or whatever, right? Like this is where like a resentments come in, you know what I mean? Because I resented his mom and shit, or like my grandma. And it's because like during this time at my lowest of low, me needing a spot to go to, like they had the audacity to be like, "When are you leaving? Like, I'm your grandson. Aren't you happy to see me?" And like they kind of gave my dad this ultimatum, because my dad's like, "Hey, he's spending time." He's like, "Well, if you don't like it, you could get your shit and leave with them." And so like that whole night I was just going through it, and I remember just sitting outside in his hallway like all night, and us having a moment. He was like, you know, "Hey son," he's like, "I just want you to know you're amazing. You're amazing." I'm like, "Thank you." You know, we shared a moment, and then I left, you know, and then it was always a thing for me to go and visit my dad when I was in the area, right? Like before I went to go do my pick people up, I would stop by and see him, or just pull up with a friend or whatever. And so yeah, I appreciate that time that I got to spend with my pops, man.
Right.
And so now I'm on the run, bro. And what made things worse is I'm in a stolen car, you know, and I have a gun on me, and I have this chick that I was hanging out with me, right? And I'm gonna go pick up. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm gonna go pick up paper plates or some shit in Rialto. You know, leaving from Azusa, going to Rialto. I'm like, this is where everything started to fall apart. Even worse, you know, like. And so I guess you could say it's my bottom, right? Because like I wasn't able to sell anything. Like, dude, I was wearing like 2 different size shoes, and I had Pumas, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had like the same kind, but like one was a 9, one was a 9.5. You know what I mean? But I was like, I'm still doing good.
Yeah.
Right? I'm still doing better than all these fucking guys out there who ain't got shit, right? And so I'm on my way to go do this. A cop gets behind us, you know, and then he flashes us, flight or flight. You know what I mean? I'm gone. I pulled into a dead end, and as soon as I got into the driveway, they lit us up, right? And I just drove in that person's lawn, and I just started taking off. And like the girl was like, "Oh, let me out." And I was like, "Fuck no, you ain't getting out. Like, you're going on for a ride."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Please." So I threw the gun in her purse, like, "Take that shit with you." And she's like, "Nah." And as I'm trying to make my way back to the freeway, another one comes. So I'm like, "Look, at the freeway, just jump out." I didn't even slow. I slowed down a little bit, but she jumped out. I got away.
Yeah.
Right? I fucking got away. I was pushing the car to the limits, and then parked it, jumped on my skateboard. And I remember seeing the cop get off the freeway, the lights off, and get right back on. I was like, whoo. I called one of my boys, told him what happened. I used my son's mom's Lyft. You know, I used her Lyft. Like, I didn't give a shit. It was on my account. I'm gonna use her debit card. You know, and got away, went back, got the car, got the gun, right? And like, you know, eventually it would catch back up to me, because you know, this person, she held me accountable, right? Like, you know, so after all of this, man, like throughout my time now, I'm back at it again, you know, hanging out with different girls, right? I go with this one girl to Glen Helen, right, to go pick up some property. I get jammed up in the parking lot. They run my name. I give them my brother's name, and they're like, "Oh, well, you got some warrants." So I was like, "Fuck, all right, my name's Ruben," you know what I mean? And then like, "Oh, you got a $100,000 warrant for evading." I was like, "What?" I was like, "Fuck." Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's what happened, man. That's like my first experience with prison. You know, so I already knew that I was gonna, for some reason in my heart, I know I was gonna do 2 years. You know, like that's the longest term that I had. The first experience, that's the longest I had, and but I was thankful. You know, I was thankful in that moment for getting caught, getting put in that position, because it made me really reflect on my life. Because like after everything that I've done, this is what my life could be, in and out of jail. You know what I mean? And I go through this whole experience, and like me and my kid's mom ain't talking. It was shitty, bro. But throughout my time, I was talking to this other girl, right? And I thought like she was the one, right? But kind of find out like, no, that's not how it is, right? Because she was actively using too. So like, I'm glad none of that shit worked out. And when I got to reception, my son's mom, or Destiny, sent me a letter, bro, a thick ass letter. I was like, oh fuck yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And like that's how we rekindled our relationship. You know, she wanted to be there, and I'm gonna tell you, man, like this girl's she's a trooper, man. Like I put her through hell and back, you know what I mean? And like it's all because of like my behaviors that I did it, and so we rekindled our thing through pen paling it, right? And it's crazy because when I got transferred to mainline, where I was finished my time, she was there with my family, and she was there when my dad passed. She was, she was there for me. So throughout this time, man, like I'm there. Like I know I don't want to be in that lifestyle no more. So I do my state time. The feds pick me up for a violation. I know they're traveling. Like I shared it with you. Like the first time I was there on an airplane is like Con Air type shit, the U.S. Marshals, they transferred me from Sacramento to Nevada in handcuffs in a plane, like the coolest thing ever. But so I felt really safe because no one's gonna take over this shit, But like it was like my only experience, right? And I go through my whole thing, and
so what'd you do? You ended up doing just 2 years?
2 years, bro. Literally 2 years.
Yeah.
And
so this is when you stopped using after this, right?
Yeah. Like I said, so August 9th was the day that I got arrested. The day before was like the last day I got high. So technically I like that's my clean day. I feel like, 9th, right? August 9th. So, so I was clean throughout my whole time. It was there. Of course, it's always there. You know what I mean? But I was more focused on my fitness, like working out and like trying to look good, riding a tank top. You know what I mean? Summer's coming. I'm coming out, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man. I get ready to get out of the feds, man. So like they transfer me from Nevada just to send me right back to LA. I was like, why couldn't you guys take me from Sacramento to LA? But COVID hit around this time, so like the whole COVID thing. And I do my time there, right? And as I'm getting ready to get out, like my grandfather's sick. He was sick when I went in. He was getting really sick on the way out, right? And so I lost a lot of important people to me in my life because of this 2 years. And like I lost my dad in my beginning. In the middle, I lost my mom's boyfriend, right? And he was a really cool ass dude, man. Like he was a good dude, And then I lost my grandfather, like my keeper, right? Like that was my dad, And like he showed me how to, change. He used to yell at us a lot, right? But he showed me how to change the inner tube on my bike, right? He showed me how to do oil change. He showed me a lot. Like that was my dad. And no matter what, like he was there for me.
Right.
Like my grandma wouldn't let me in the house at nighttime. He would leave his truck unlocked with a blanket in there. Hey, mijo, go ahead. Sleep in the truck. I'm all right, cool. Hell yeah. You know what I mean? Going against the grain of my grandma, just so I have a place to sleep. Well, I lost him, man. It hurt me, but I already knew that, he was in a better place, right? Like, because throughout that time he was, he had a stroke and he wasn't able to move. So he was on the bed the whole time. Like, like when you're in the bed for so long, you get sores and stuff in your back. And, I'm glad that I really had to go through that experience. But one of the things I'm grateful for is that I was able to be there for the burial. You know what I mean? And so I was there for the burial, and I was there. I had an important time with my family because that was like one of the him and my grandmother are like the soul of our family that we have, right? Like, because we have a big family, but like for like the ones that I grew up in the household, like they're our keepers, and we lost one of the important ones. So I was there, I got to the experience. And then, this is where recovery comes in because I didn't, like, it was abstinence in the beginning, but I was forced to go to rehab. One of my goodest friends, like she set me up, right, with a number where I wasn't in there. And this is where my brother got clean too.
Right.
Because I was locked up. I couldn't go to rehab. He needed to rehab because he was out for the feds at a halfway house and he was using. So he went. Crazy how it worked out. I couldn't be there while he was there. Crazy thing is that by the time it was my turn to go in, he had got kicked out. Yeah. Because like you're not supposed to like mingle with the females and shit like that. His dumbass got caught. Yeah. Right. And it was fun. We could laugh about it today, right? And so like that was it, man. Like I was able to go in there and he told me, dude, it's dope. You're gonna like it. I'm going in there with like the 2 years that I have clean. And I just told him, look, I need to get in here because the federal probation. The moment that I went into the treatment facility, I felt at peace. Like, dude, this is awesome. Like everybody here is cool. Like they're fucking, like they're all like, look like they're all welcoming. And so I had been faced with a decision. Either I'm gonna leave when my 90 days is up or I'm gonna stay. I stood, man, because this place offered an opportunity to become a drug counselor.
Right.
And so I went through the whole like interning and doing everything from a RA to an intern, and then eventually they gave me a job, right? On track, doing what I got to do, got off paper after I got hired, and then so it was pretty good, bro.
Yeah.
And I just knew like this is it. Like I want to be a substance use counselor. Like it's just cool, right? And it's crazy because like in high school, I had went to like a class for it, like a group for it, and I was like, this is dope. Like I wonder what I got to do to become this. And later on, my disease puts me in that place where I'm fortunate to have that experience.
Right.
And so like this is where recovery gets introduced to me. And this is my first time around with recovery. Like, I haven't had any relapses, right? And if a relapse is part of anybody's story, like, just know, like, it's like an experience to have a new experience, right? There's nothing wrong with it. Like, you just want to be able to come back and feel welcomed.
For sure.
Like, because a lot of people get that thing like, oh, I got high, man, this and that. Like, no, man, just come back. Come back when you're ready, because we're not going to force it on to, but just know you have a place here with us, right? Because, when we use, we feel like we fail somebody. Nah, man, like don't be too hard on yourself. We're our worstest critic.
Right.
So I went to that experience, man, and then working, and I had a sponsor. I wasn't really calling in, working the steps. Like I stopped at my 6th step, right? Like,
right.
And I'm just working so much. I got 2 jobs now because now I'm paying child support for my daughter, right? Paying child support for her, and then like I'm like, oh, I ain't got no money, so I picked up a part-time job. Cool, and I'm feeling burnt out, man. I got in contact like with some of my old friends I used to tag with, right?
Yeah. And is that 5 years clean, right?
Yeah.
Four
Going
between 4 or 5.
Between 4 or 5, right? So like, like I'm doing the same behaviors from my addiction, the lying, the cheating, right? Clean.
Writing on walls.
Writing on walls. Fucking love it. Right? Yeah. All right. They should have like a Taggers Anonymous or some shit. So like, I just felt like I was burning out, bro, and getting in contact with them, I felt like that was a necessary thing. And they tell you, if you're going to be in recovery, like, you got to change one thing. That's everything, right? Like, these fools are tripping. Like, I don't got to worry about getting high. I'm cool, right? But I had to go through that experience because no longer is the substance use a problem, right? It's the behaviors that became an issue for me, right? Like, after all of this, like, it wasn't the using, it was myself, right? I was the problem my whole life, but just the substance didn't allow me to acknowledge that. Like, it just enhanced everything that I was going through, right? Just pushed my problems back, right? And so I started hanging out with the buddies, you know what I mean? The relationship with Destiny has fell apart again, right? And I ended up just getting myself into a lot of nonsense, I'll say that, right? Wasn't like, I'll call off work a lot, right? They ask me, you good? I'm like, yeah, I'm cool, like whatever, like I'm still showing up no matter what, doing groups, not even interested in doing groups, right? And like, and I didn't want to take my state exam test. I mean, I fucking like, fuck that Goliath. I ain't fucking gonna conquer that fear right there. So my life started becoming unmanageable again without the substance use, right? Everything was falling apart. And I remember when I met you, like you told me, like when the pain of remaining the same outweighs the fear, surely you'll let go, right? Like I didn't know what the fuck that meant. Right. I was like, what the fuck, this guy's, yeah, he's smart, but like, damn, what does he even mean? Like, give me riddles and shit, what I mean? But like I was in desperation of help, right, while being clean. The day we met, there was a party at the house, like I shared earlier, right? Like where it was just a mess. I was like, I got tired of being around people that are drinking. I got tired of being around unhealthy relationships, right? I was tired of being tired, so surely I had to change. And I was rebuilding my relationship with my girlfriend, with Destiny, right? And she's been my biggest support, like to celebrating birthdays with me, getting me cakes made, like my biggest supporter in my life, right? In my recovery here today. And she went with me to the park meeting, right there in Covina. And I was like, fuck, I need to find a sponsor. Like, I didn't know how, like, I was going to find a sponsor. And then, like, everything people were saying was hitting on point. Like, one guy said, like, when the student's ready, the teacher will present himself. And then next, you come out with this inspirational star or lead or whatever, that you spoke about. And I was like, dude, this guy's so passionate. Like, I need that. I want that. And I remember like just knowing that after the meeting, like I had after I shared and spoke about that, like I was like, I need to talk to him and like make him my friend.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if you remember, like I ran to you, dog. I didn't even skip. I ran to you, like save me. Right. And you were like, oh, well, you want me to sponsor? I was like, no, hold up. I'm not asking you to sponsor me. You know what I mean? But like, that was when like a major change in my life came into play.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why is because I was so broken. Right. Because spiritually I was drained, man. Like we have to be aware of our connectivity with a higher power and our spirituality, right? Like, you know, what we believe in or whatever you believe in. You know, I just know that for me, it's the spirit, right? My connectivity that I have with people. And that's when, you know, we talked a little bit. And at that point, I knew this guy was going to have an impact on my life. Like I knew it at that point. Like after we texted, and I cried, man. Yeah. I fucking cried. And then my girlfriend was like, oh, you can. I'm like, dude, like this guy's amazing. Like, you know, like I'm not trying to put you on the pedestal or nothing. You know what I mean? But like you're fucking like you like just made me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And like I knew at that point like my life is gonna change today. Right. And I appreciate the fact of just having me call, right? Because I know you asked me like throughout this time you didn't use. I was like, nope, hell no.
I thought for sure you drink, bro.
Nah.
Yeah.
I gotta lie. Like I've been around. I was like, dude, that shit looks good. But I was like, nah. Like I found myself in unhealthy environments where like they're cleaning the pipe and there's dope right there, you know, hanging out with girls who are using, right? And like knowing that I got to get the fuck out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like we look at these flags and we dismiss them, but like, bro, I had to get out. And that's why like I'm glad I made it through that, because who knows, I probably wouldn't have.
Right.
You know? But you know, throughout this this journey that I'm in today, like, dude, my relationships have improved. I'm not gonna say they're better, right?
Yeah.
They're improved, like, and I'm still working on myself, right? But just to know, like, I utilize what the program offered, right? Like getting help from others, you know, being able to ask for help, and just like being willing, right? And like that changed my life that day, you know. So one of the things is like being able to take a look at my steps again, you know, coming clean about certain stuff and whatever, right? And just knowing that like I have connections with people today. I know I gotta distance myself from family as well. Like I can't make them my whole thing like I did before. But like my main objective today is like to be a great father, right? To be the best that I can be, right? And I fall short, don't get me wrong, because I'm only going based off what I know, right? And like my youngest little boy, like I know that I gotta, you know, be the best that I can. Like I look at him and realize like I never had this. Like I never had, you know, my dad show up to like school events, at least I don't remember, right? Like walking me up there, you know, picking me up, whatever, just doing certain things. I'm like, I'm grateful for that. Like, you know, being able to even be a brother, right? Or uncle. Like I love this shit. I love who I am today, right? And don't get me wrong, there's times where I kind of question it, but I just know like I'm better off where I'm at today. Like, you know, being able to readdress the steps and put in my life, like made me the person of who I am right now, right? And I just want to continue to improve that. You know, one of my biggest fears I conquered, right? I got certified in the field that I'm in today currently, right? And like you know how much like it was like a thing for me not wanting to do, right? And like being able to address the work and be like, you know what, forget that. Like either I'm gonna go back out there or I'm gonna do something with my life today, right? And they
say, bro, like if the drugs don't get you, the lifestyle will. So eventually that shit was gonna take you back out. And it kind of happened for me, like, because I don't ever put myself on a pedestal or fucking look what I did, look what I helped. Like for me, it's just God putting me in the right place at the right time. And I don't even go to Covina, you know, anymore, right?
I never saw you after that anymore.
You know, I was going out there for a certain reason, and then you know that certain reason stopped, and so like fucking, but it was cool, bro. And I feel like, you know, my reason for going out there, you know, was to meet you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was like, you know, I thought it was for another reason, and it was to meet you, bro. Like now we have this relationship, even though like most of our relationships over the phone doesn't matter, bro. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it's a trip because like I think about like, I remember I was thinking about this when you were talking, bro. I remember like in the Yellows in San Bernardino, we had like this family that moved in from Azusa, right? And I'd never been out of San Bernardino at this time, you know what I'm saying? So I never been to Azusa, and I remember thinking, like, oh, it's probably like skyscrapers and this and that, right? It's LA. Yeah. Then I go to Azusa, I'm like, shit looks like fucking San Bernardino. You know what I'm saying?
A little bit nicer.
Yeah, a little bit nicer for sure. But, you know, I don't know. I think that everything happens for a reason. And, you know, like I even tell people all the time, bro, like I was talking to one of my, some dude cutting my hair, bro, not my actual barber, because he was with his family this last time I went and got a haircut last Thursday. And I was talking to this kid, and I was like, bro, like people in the program, bro, are just like us, dog. There's like, I don't know. I think when people think clean or like they think like holier than thee, you know, type of people, bro, we're just a bunch of addicts, bro, like trying to stay clean. Like if I didn't have people that I could talk shit to and like just kick it with, bro, like this shit would be boring as fuck, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so like having some like people around me that like come from the same culture, not necessarily have to, but like just like have the same personality. We just talk shit, and of course we work when it's time to work, and we get, you know what I'm saying, we talk about some serious shit when it's time to talk about serious shit. But it's just a bunch of homies kicking it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Trying to help each other, improve each other one day at a time, bro. Yeah.
No, that's definitely it right there too. Like I think that's like what kind of pulled me in as well, right? Just knowing like, oh, I feel comfortable calling him and shooting the shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And chopping up. But when it's time to get to work, it's like, all right, let's get to it, right? But just knowing like it's the homie, but he's actually helping me get to where I need to be, you know?
I've had to learn how to set boundaries with myself too. Like, cause when like the cultures of homies, right, is like, well, you're my friend, dog, so I'm not going to tell you that you're doing anything wrong. And so, like, when I first started building relationships like that in early recovery, it was really hard for me to call people on their shit and like, hey, dog, you're fucking up. You know what I'm saying? But then I seen too many people relapse and go back out and back in, back out. And so now, bro, like, for me, like, if I love you and I care about you, right, even if we're not, like, part of the same, like, little sponsorship family, if I love you and care about you, it's important for me to tell you the truth. You know what I'm saying? It's important for me to keep you accountable, right? At least so that my conscience is cleared. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I feel like I've learn how to walk that line of having friendships, right? But what includes friendship is accountability and responsibility to one another, bro.
And that's the truth right there.
Yeah.
You know, we get to establish these new relationships with people, right? And you know, we get to get familiar with them, and being able to call them on certain things, like, it's important, right? Because I wouldn't appreciate it. Yes, man, I need you to help let me know when I'm falling off track, or, you know, you see me drifting away, because as well as you, like, I have like, you know, my other support out there with me, right? And like, you know, they were calling me during times where I was out running amok, and I just distanced myself from, like, don't hit me up, like, you know, as my son's godmother and godfather, and like I didn't want to be around them, right? And like today, like, I get to share moments with them, bonfires, events, right? Like they love me and I love them, right? And it's not only that, like I need what you're saying, people to hold me accountable, you know, or when I'm falling off, and like that's what I appreciate today. Like, you're able to tell me, like, you're doing a great job, or you're telling you need to, you know, work on certain things. Like, all right, cool, right? Because I don't need someone who's gonna be like, nah, man, you're doing good, and then really I'm doing really bad. You know what I mean? Straight off a cliff. You know what I mean? But you know, today it's just a blessing to be where I'm at today. You know, and to have the people around me, right? Like, it's helpful. You know, it allows me to know, like, the life that I live today is right. It's like where I need to be. For sure. You know, you know, I couldn't ask for anything more, man.
Yeah, and I'm proud of you, dude. Like, you come a long way from that guy at the park. So, like, you're doing
it.
Yeah. No, you're doing a good job, bro. Yep. But so before we end this, bro, we always like to ask this question. If there's somebody who's listening right now, right, who's listening to Ruben's story, and they're struggling with addiction, with the lifestyle, whatever, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Dang. One piece of advice. Don't be afraid to reach out, right? Don't be afraid to, you know, go and get the help that is needed, right? Or to try something new, right? Because if I was afraid, if I let that fear hold me back, I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't be where I'm at. My outcome probably would have been different. Right. But like, that's because I knew what I needed. I needed help. Right. Like, don't allow that fear to stop you from reaching, you know, your greatest points, man. Like, honestly, like, that's what stops a lot of people. Right? They're not asking for assistance, or they don't know how to do it. But that would be something I would say, man. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. Right. Like, if you're in recovery, or if you want to get new, or you're new into it, like, that's what holds us together, right? Asking for help, being there with each other.
Right. For sure. All right. Well, thank you, Ruben. We appreciate you coming out, bro. For those of you guys who are listening, man, please like, follow, subscribe to all of our channels on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You guys be sure to follow us on the Messages Hope IG, which is the Messages Hope podcast with __ between each word. We also have a TikTok with the same name. And be sure to go ahead and send this podcast to anybody who you feel needs to hear it.
Right. It's such an honor to be able to hear other people's experiences of life, to see how when faced with the very thing that was sent to destroy you, kill you, and take you off forever didn't, but rather you have been given a second chance to give hope and be a light for those who are still in the dark. So don't be afraid to share your message to the world. You never know whose life you might be saving.